This is the Pilot Point Bearcat Pregame Show, brought to you by Homeland Roofing on PilotPointBearcats.com. And now, here's your host, Ryne Menard, with John Little and Chris Nortman.
This is the Bearcat Pregame Show, brought to you by Homeland Roofing on PilotPointBearcats.com. We're going to have the full crew Friday night for the first time since the Plainview game. John is back from Finland. Norty's back from fishing. So we'll have the whole team back together. It'll be nice. Have that goalkeeper pool stat sheet check back and have everybody up in the press box Friday night. But speaking of getting the team together, it's going to take a Bearcat team pulling all in the same direction on Friday night and giving a full team effort in order to try to get a win Friday night. So from what you guys seen from the Bearcats this year, what gives you optimism that we could go in Friday night, compete, and put us in a position to steal a win? John, let's start with you.
Well, Ryan, for me, it's not exactly what I've seen from our Bearcats this year that I'm basing my optimism on. It's really the results that we've had against the good Paradise teams in the past couple of seasons. Last year, for example, we got the best of them of a Paradise team that was coming in at 4-1 into that game against us at home, and we bested them 35-21. And in 2020, they were 3-2, and we also beat them that year on their dimly lit natural grass field 44-21. So even beyond that, we beat them 24-0 in 2019 and 27-7 in 2018. So I'm really basing my optimism on the fact that historically we've played well, very well against the Paradise Panthers team. In a few cases, they haven't really played that well or played up to their paper, so to speak. And our mighty Bearcats have answered the call the last 4 or 5 years that we've played Paradise for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to elaborate more on that in a minute. Before we get to me, Chris, what do you like?
So Ryan, there's the Big 12 football right now. There's a team out there that's notoriously good in basketball. This year they're off to a 4-0 start, and it's the Kansas Jayhawks. And a lot of people are out there drinking the Kool-Aid on those guys, thinking they're going to win the Big 12. They're going to go the playoffs, all these great things. And I'm not a big believer. So I started digging into Paradise's record. And they're 5-0. They're putting up a bunch of points. They're not allowing a lot of teams to score, but they're also not playing a lot of competition. The overall record for their opponents so far is 10-15. Not a very strong record. I know Lindsay and Munster are down in 2A. I'm not sure about Millsap. But Ponder and Godley were their 3A opponents. Ponder and Godley both kind of went toe-to-toe in an offensive battle. Didn't have much defense in that game. So I don't know if Paradise has really played anybody. So it might be kind of a disguise of what this 5-0 record is. And it makes me a little – I think we got a good shot Friday night against this team. I think they haven't faced a tough opponent yet.
Yeah, looking at some of the records, you're right. Lindsay's 0-5, Munster's 2-3, Godley's 2-3. Ponder had been off to a good start, and Millsap was 3-2. Yeah, so the strength of schedule for them hasn't been very tough. But that being said, one thing going back to college football that Chris and I always talk about is, when you play good teams, when good teams play bad teams, you expect to see the good teams handle the bad teams and handle them pretty easily. And I will give Paradise their credit there. They have handled all their opponents in their games so far. But that being said, I like going back to what John said. We've handled them pretty regularly throughout the last, in Pilot Point history, but specifically the last 2 years. And what I'm going to get to in a little bit when we talk more specifically about Paradise and their team makeup, a lot of the same kids there from last year, a lot of the same kids there from the year before. So I'm interested to see if we come out Friday night and it's a tough game at the beginning. Do they, remember that they're 5-0 and they hadn't lost this year, or do they start remembering all those football games from the past where, they just couldn't seem to get the best of Pilot Point? So that's some of the optimism I have. I think sometimes, like I said, if the game starts getting tough, Pilot Point remembers handling this team. Paradise remembers getting beat by the Bearcats regularly. And hopefully that ends up holding form Friday night and we have a tough game. Before we get into the specifics about Paradise and their football team, let's get some district results. Paradise beat Ponder last week 62-14. Brock got their first win of the year 55-6. And Whitesboro beat our Bearcats 58-24. All the home teams last week won. This week we have Pilot Point at home versus Paradise, Peaster at home versus Brock, and Boyd at home versus Whitesboro for our district schedule this week, or come this Friday night. But now to Paradise. So I'm going to start by breaking down kind of what the team looks like, and then we'll get into what you guys know about Paradise and what you're expecting to see. So Paradise runs the typical high school spread offense where they spread you out but still emphasize the run game. But Paradise had a good track season last year. They have a lot of team speed, and that reminds me of 2 years ago at that dimly lit Paradise Field where we were broadcasting from the top row of the home stands. In the second half, they hit a slot receiver down the seam for what should have been a 4 or 5 yard completion, but it's like when the kid caught the ball, he was shot out of a cannon. I mean, just exploded. Nobody on the field could keep up with him. One of the parents from the stands jokingly hollered out, where did that kid come from? And, that kid was Austin Iglesias, and he's now the Paradise quarterback. So they have a lot of team speed, and their fastest guy, the guy that we remember specifically from his speed that night, he's their top playmaker and their quarterback. Paradise is averaging 48 points per game offensively and has eclipsed 50 in their last three, including last week's 62 points against Ponder. Make your eyes wide a little, seeing how many points they can score. But the thing that's really stuck out to me is defensively, Paradise is led by linebacker Kobe Dickens, and they've been stingy to say the least, averaging 12.5 points per game against, and their season high that any team has scored against them so far this year is 15. So they allowed 7, 13, 15, 14, and 14. So this is an offense that can put up a lot of points with a lot of team speed, and they don't give up much on the other side. So with that being said, Norty, what are you expecting to see out of Paradise, and what do you know about them?
Yeah, Ryan, I looked up, got quite a bit of the stats from what you were talking about with the 48 points per game and only allowing 12. I did see where Iglesias is averaging 215 yards on the ground and passing for 158. The offense set they had, it seemed a little different. I hadn't seen it before. They have two running backs in the backfield with the quarterback, but those running backs are maybe up a yard and over 2 or 3, kind of right behind the tackles. It looked like they ran a lot of zone and outside running with that, and kind of zone reads, reading the ends, reading the outside linebackers, and exploiting that. I think that actually kind of fits into our defense with Puga and Lynch on the outside. I think we can force that back in and lock it down. That's kind of the main stats I had was Iglesias. Will Johnson's another good, solid running back to have. Iglesias, I mean, he's their team. That's what from everything you read about him, you stop that guy, you can maybe control this offense.
One other thing I want to point out is Paradise, they returned 9 starters on offense and 8 starters on defense. So, yeah, this is a team that Pilot Point normally beats. A lot of these kids that are on the team now were on the team last year. A lot of the kids are probably like Iglesias on the team the year before. John, knowing that they have that many returning starters, what else do you know about Paradise?
Yeah, a lot like Chris said, they love this formation where it's almost like if it was a running formation traditionally, it'd be a double wing, but they run it out of shotgun, and they got those backs split out basically in front of the quarterback. So they like to do a lot of action right there in front of the quarterback horizontally. A lot of plays to get to the outside, but they'll cut it up and try to get past that first level before they pop it to the outside. And they've got 3 guys, their quarterback, and then the 2 running backs, Will Johnson and Leo Hernandez, all listed to run a 4.6 40 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. So they got a bunch of speed offensively, and they really set up a lot of stuff with play action. And to Chris's point, I mean, Austin Iglesias makes this thing go. He seems to be the best quarterback that they've had since we've seen him over the years. He's got a ton of speed. He's listed at 6'1", 185. He's an athletic kid. He's got a good arm. But, I mean, I think it's going to be key for our Bearcats to stop that running game. And if we're going to pick our poison, we want to make them pass for sure.
I want to take some of the information that y'all just laid out and make another case for what we can really look forward to Friday night. Is if you go back to the Bells game, so with the Bells style offense where they really like to pound the football, a lot of times you see your defensive line get overloaded, your second level, your linebackers get blocked, and you get pushed around to have a team like Bells have a lot of running success. That was not the case when we played Bells. Our defensive linemen really did a good job of holding their ground, not getting driven back into the running back. But everything happened so quickly, so close to the line of scrimmage, it was almost impossible for the linebackers to see what was happening before it happened and diagnose a play. I'm excited to see an offense that's going to try to challenge our defense physically because I think we can hold up, but allow our linebackers to actually see what's happening, develop, and get a chance to be physical and make those plays on defense to get stops. I feel like this game will go much differently than the Bells game when it comes to our defense making stops because our hogs up front on the offensive defensive line have shown week in, week out that they don't get pushed around. So I think if we can be physical up front, we have a good chance to slow down Austin Iglesias. And like y'all said, if we slow him down, we have a chance to be in this game. Now we've recapped some facts about Paradise. We're going to take a quick commercial, and then we'll come back and talk about players to watch, and then John's three keys.
Homeland Roofing, LLC has been serving the DFW area since 2014 and is a proud sponsor of Bearcats football. Homeland Roofing is a full-service contractor who specializes in storm restoration and provides end-to-end service for all insurance claims. If you've had storm damage, you've filed a claim but have questions about that next step, or you'd like a complimentary inspection, call Homeland Roofing at 469-343-3536. 469-343-3536 or find us on Facebook, Homeland Roofing, Texas.
Welcome back to the Homeland Roofing Bearcat pregame show. We're about to dive into our players to watch for Friday night against Paradise, and then we'll go to John's three keys. So we're going to start with Norty. Norty, who's your player to watch Friday night?
Yeah, Ryan, I'm going to copy you from the past couple weeks, and I'm going to go with kind of a position group, but more so just I'm going to go with the whole offense this week. I think we're going to have a tough matchup stopping Iglesias on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm going to look forward to our offense trying to match the output. We've got Gage Anderson, who's been a workhorse, who's been Gage against the machine. He's been a machine all year. I actually heard a stat today from Chance on the postgame show. He's 49% of our offense right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing what other players are going to step up and help us out this week on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe some receivers stepping up, Wyatt Smith making some big plays. I think we're going to have to put up a lot of points to match this Paradise football team.
I agree. John, you want to go ahead and give us your player to watch?
Yeah, for me, and Norty touched on it, but I'm going with, of course, Gage Anderson. I mean, as Norty said, he's accounting for 49% of the offense. We really need him to, have that same energy that he's had all season long and be that productive back and really control the ball with the ground game, and hopefully we can control the time of possession, because I think the more times, more offensive plays we can run, the less offensive plays obviously Paradise is going to get a chance to run in this game, and that's going to be key for us to control the time of possession. And if Gage, continues on pace, I think he's going to have a great night on Friday night.
I have a different player, but kind of a similar reasoning. I'm going to go with Colin Lynch. I'm going to go with Colin Lynch for two reasons. One, he seems to be one of the most physical players on the defensive side of the ball for us. So we're really going to depend on him running around, tackling Austin Iglesias and the rest of the Paradise Panthers. But also, last week, they put him in on the offensive side of the football a little. And one thing that I have noticed is, you talked about Gage Anderson being 49% of the offense. Ashton Kirby hasn't been as heavily involved in the offense since the first couple weeks. Crew Chandler in the passing game, the deep passing game, hasn't really been as effective either. We need somebody else on this offense to step up and add to the core of playmakers that we have. Colin Lynch got the most offensive run that he got all season last week playing that slot receiver. So he's going to be my player to watch, not only for what he brings on the defense side of the ball, but that added element of maybe another playmaker on offense, which so far this season this offense has desperately needed. So that's my player to watch. Y'all have both had Gage Anderson. I had Colin Lynch. All similar reasons, looking for those big plays, looking for playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. But now that we've hammered through that, let's go to John's 3 keys of the game.
Yeah, Ryan. Key number 3. Key number 3 is don't get behind the chains. And it seems like every game so far we've had several drives stall out due to a key penalty or a bad snap. And last week it seemed like the Whitesboro defensive line, that shift that they kept doing, baited us into several false start penalties that really ended up hurting several drives. Then in the second half we came out and looked much better with better intent and purpose offensively and better execution, which led to a couple touchdowns there and a better second half. So we're going to have that kind of execution with no penalties, no bad snaps, no turnovers from start to finish in order to pull out the upset against this undefeated Paradise Panther team. And key number 2. The key number 2 for me is to come out and establish an early lead and set the tone for the night. I think it'd be, absolutely huge if we could jump out on these guys early. Paradise might start to think back to the previous 4 or 5 years of Bearcat dominance, and they might get their daubers down if we can jump on them early. So I think that would go a long way in the confidence department for our Bearcats. So key number 2 is to jump out to an early lead. And key number 1.
Of his property, we're damn good too. But you can't be any geek
off the street.
Gotta be handy with the steel.
Gotta be handy with the steel, if you know what I mean. Earn your keep, Norty. Regulators, no. Man, I think everybody loves them some Warren G and Nate Dogg. If you don't, you're missing out. But the definition of regulate is to control and maintain the rate of speed of a machine or a process. And right now, this Paradise team is operating like a well-oiled machine on both sides of the ball. So I think it's going to be paramount for our Bearcats to come out and establish their offensive game plan and dictate the pace of this game. And we need to regulate the Paradise offense by ultimately keeping them off the field as much as possible. So, don't let them going on the ground offensively too much and keep the ball in their hands and get that potent Paradise Panther offense. Don't give them any confidence. Don't let them get going, and let's mess up their rhythm, and let's hope that our Bearcats come out strong from the start and pull out that dub against Paradise this week.
Yeah, I like those points. I think this Bearcat team would be suited well to play with the lead because they're not extremely explosive. They don't, they really, I think, could play a good control the clock game. So this team would be, I think, one of the better teams the last couple of years to play with the lead. And also, I think you had a great point with how well-oiled Paradise has been so far this year. Let's put a little bit of sand in the gears. Let's trip them up and see how they handle some adversity because clearly with the scores in these first handful of games, they haven't really been challenged yet. So let's see what a team who's not you and a bunch of kids who are not traditionally used to winning on the football field react when they're pushed. So that being said, players to watch, 3 keys to the game. We know a little bit about Paradise. I'm excited Friday night at Massey. The weather's starting to cool off just a little. Those nights up in the press box are getting cooler and cooler. It's almost like it's going to be football weather soon.
Absolutely, it's football weather.
Alrighty, guys. Well, we'll see you Friday night. We'll have the full crew. Thanks for being with us today. And go Bearcats.
Go Bearcats.
Go Bearcats.